We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show, but let's begin this hour with the CBS News exclusive. President Trump is issuing new threats against Iran. This follows reports that Iranian authorities have killed thousands of anti-government protesters. There are also some reports that demonstrators could be hanged as early as today. CBS Evening News anchor Tony DeCopel asked the president what he meant when he wrote, quote, "Help is on the way for Iran" in this social media post. Here's how he responded.
There's a lot of help on the way and in different forms, including economic help from our standpoint, and not going to help Iran very much. And, you know, we put Iran out of business with their nuclear capacity, and now, depending on what's actually happening, nobody's been able to give us accurate numbers about how many people they've killed.
Well, on that point,
it looks like it could be a pretty substantial number, and that's going to be a lot of problems.
A lot of problems. On that point, you did say the U.S. would get involved if Iran started killing protesters. They have, by the many thousands, according to reports.
Well, we'll see what that is. I've heard two numbers, but we'll see what that is.
Well, now we're hearing that they're going to start hanging protesters tomorrow. So it comes back to the question, have they crossed your red line, or has the line moved?
I haven't heard about the hanging. If they hang them, you're going to see some things that I don't know what where you come from and what your thought process is, but you'll perhaps be very happy.
What do you mean by that?
We will take very strong action. If they do such a thing, we will take very strong action.
All right, let's bring in CBS News correspondent Natalie Brand, who's live at the White House for us this morning. All right, so Natalie, what else are we learning about the White House's plan for addressing what's going on in Iran?
Vlad, Adriana, we know that the president, the White House, they have been weighing potential options. We just don't know what those possible next steps or that strong action could be. But in that exchange, you heard Tony try to press the president on his red line. At what point will he intervene? And he said in that clip, or he indicated, signaled that he would take action if Iran moves to hang anti-government protesters. Now, earlier, the president previously threatened to intervene if protesters were killed. And we know from human rights groups, they've reported that that number has exploded. Sources say that the number of protesters killed is now at least 12,000, possibly upwards of 20,000. Important to note, though, that CBS News has not independently verified that number. But again, as this death toll has grown, the administration is holding meetings with the national security team, looking at potential military options, cyber. Tony, in this interview, also asked the president what is his end game with respect to Iran. Take a listen to that exchange.
This strong action you're talking about, what's the end game?
The end game is to win. I like winning.
How do you define that in Iran?
Well, let's define it in Venezuela. Let's define it with al-Baghdadi. He was wiped out. Let's define it with Soleimani. And let's define it in Iran, where he wiped out their Iran nuclear threat in a period of about 15 minutes once the B-2s got there. We don't want to see what's happening in Iran happen. And, if they want to have protests, that's one thing. When they start killing thousands of people, and now you're telling me about hanging, we'll see how that works out for them. It's not going to work out good.
And recall that just a couple of days ago, the White House was really emphasizing that diplomacy is always the first option. But as we reported just yesterday, the president announcing that for now he's canceled meetings with Iranian officials until the killing of protesters stops. Vlad, Adriana.
Natalie, Tony also spoke to the president about the fact that Americans that Tony has spoken to across the country have repeatedly told him that they want the country's focus to be on the USA, not overseas. How is the president justifying this potential intervention in Iran so soon after Venezuela?
Yeah, and that's what polling has revealed, too, that in the view of a lot of voters, there's too much focus on foreign policy, not enough on domestic issues, affordability, prices at the grocery store. So, again, Tony tried to ask him about that issue, and he really, kind of downplayed those concerns, defending his economic agenda and saying that he inherited a mess in his mind regarding high inflation, and that he's not even been in office for, almost a year now, and that that it's going to take time to see some of these results. He also tried to make an argument that when things are peaceful abroad, when threats are addressed, that is good for the United States. And he noted that Middle Eastern allies are investing a lot of money in the U.S., touting, his efforts to bring peace in the Middle East. And he said that you cannot dismiss what he called bad threats from places like Iran. Adriana.
Natalie, thank you so much.